The
Yeah, Raja.
strongest factor for success is self-esteem. Believing you can do it, believing you deserve it, and believing you will get it. A very good morning to you all. Welcome you all to the last day of International Virtual Conference on Language, Humanities, Social Science and Education. I extend my warmest welcome to all the chairpersons, resource persons and the Chancellor of University of Cyber Jaya, Malaysia, Professor Emeritus Tan Sri Anwar bin Ali. It's my pleasure to invite Dr. Jahossan Virej, Assistant Professor of English, Christ Academy Institute of Advanced Studies, Bangalore, to introduce a keynote speaker. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Afia, the Master of Ceremony, for giving me this opportunity to introduce the distinguished keynote speaker for the third day of this international conference, which is really going to be a fruitful day for all the participants who are connected here virtually. Very good morning and a pleasant day to all the scholarly audience present here. As I told you, it's my privilege and pleasure to introduce the distinguished keynote speaker for this session, Datu Dr. Zakaria bin Abdul Rashid, Emeritus Professor. Dr. Zakaria bin Abdul Rashid is an economist. He was the executive director of the Malaysian Institute of Economic Research, MIER, and he is also the head of economic department and the deputy dean in the School of Postgraduate Studies, University Putra, Malaysia. He has received several awards from the university and has published many articles in scholarly journals. He speaks at many seminars and conferences all over the world, and he has edited many academic journals and also policy papers, and has also conducted many research projects while serving with the university and Malaysian Institute of Economic Research. In addition, he is also a proficient trainer in many areas of development economics and policy. Uh, to talk on a few high points of his academic career, from the long list, I would like to start from his qualification. He graduated with the Bachelor of Economics with specialization in statistics and Master of Economics from University of Malaya and PhD in Economics from University College of Wales, United Kingdom. His early education was at National Junior College, Singapore. One of the phenomenal accomplishments or awards which Dr. Zakaria bin Abdul Rashid has received was in 2019 when he received the Darja Kepsaran Panglima Mahkota Vilia, which is for serving the federal community, as I understand with my little knowledge of using Google search. He was awarded this prestigious, reputed award in 2019 for his service to the community. He served as a consultant to many research institutions in Malaysia and also outside Malaysia, like the ASEAN or ESCAP or ADB, UNIDO, and ERIA. And inside Malaysia, as I already mentioned, he was with Malaysian Institute of Economic Research, EPU, and UPEN, right? And he was also part of the governmental task force in terms of policy making with regard to income distribution and eradicating poverty. He helps in the construction of Malaysia social accounting matrix, and he is also instrumental in the regional development authority as well. He is a member of National Wage Consultative Council, deputy chairman of NWCC, the technical committee, member of program advisory committee of MPOB. He was a member of the Malaysian Competition Commission. He's a member of the executive council of National Cost of Living Committee, and the list goes on. He's also part of many active committees pertaining to research and development in University Putra, Malaysia as well. His research interest is in development economics of income distribution and welfare, international trade and industrialization, labor economics, and regional planning. He was awarded as an outstanding consultant by the University Putra, Malaysia. At present, his main interest is pertaining to labor issues, particularly on the issues related to minimum wage policy. He helps the NWCC in the construction of minimum wage formula and setting of minimum wage for the laborers. He appears continuously on the media, TV, radio, and newspapers while discussing economic policies and matters. Uh, Especially commenting on the Malaysian economic outlook. Currently, he is also working on discussing the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on Malaysian economy, which is a global issue to every other country and pertaining to Malaysia. Our distinguished keynote speaker, Datu Dr. Zakaria bin Abdul Rashid, is working on that as well. Um, it's indeed an honor and privilege for all the uh, members of this particular mm, conference, the scholarly audience present in this conference, to have such an esteemed personality as our keynote speaker. So, on behalf of the Lavender Literary Club and the hosting institutions and the organizing committee, I welcome him and I take pleasure in introducing him to the scholarly audience. I'm sure that the deliberations led by our distinguished keynote speaker will be of great use to all the participants present in this virtual gathering. Thank you once again. Have a great day.
Okay, thank you very much. Can I begin now? Dr. Jiresh, can I begin now?
Yes, sir. You can
Yeah.
begin.
Okay. Thank you very much for the very nice introduction. But today I want to confine myself to only a very narrow area. So first of all, I would like to express my utmost gratitude to the organizers of International Virtual Conference on Language, Humanity, Social Science and Education, who has given me the honor to deliver the keynote address during the third day of the virtual conference. Also, I would like to congratulate the joint organizers comprising Universities of Human Resources, comprising of Universities, Human Resources Association and Literary Club from Indonesia, India and Malaysia, who have been successfully gathered many participants in not only presenting their research papers in the field of language, humanities and social science and education, but also more importantly, meeting and gathering participants from many countries. The organizers indeed absolutely essentially hope that all the participants will be able to present and discuss the research papers smoothly and effectively during the whole period of the webinar. I was introduced to Dr. Frank Satya of Lavender Literary Club, Tamil Nadu, India, by my colleague, Professor Dr. Balakrishnan of University Malaysia Kelantan. Thank you very much for that. Now I realize that I would like to share my professional experience in the field of economics. Starting my career as an academician, I slowly built my career by setting in the foundation rigorously, undertook various teaching, supervision, research, and extension activities. It spent more than a decade post my PhD. Now I realize how lucky I am and feel grateful to the university for giving me the opportunities in which it became the invaluable assets later in pursuing my career as an economic researcher at the Think Tank Research Institute, MIER. The activities that were carried out while serving the universities are indeed invaluable. They represent the necessary processes in developing human capital, which certainly time consuming, whose benefit will be reaped in later period. But in my humble opinion, this is the right path. If anyone currently serving the universities would want to enhance his future career. Therefore, I would like to congratulate the participants in this webinar who are currently at their initial but important stage in career building. The shape of your later career depends upon what you invest today. I sincerely urge you not to waste this opportunity to enhance your potentials, because bright futures are always there awaiting to be reaped. While with a limited knowledge in social science, I will be speaking about economics as a discipline. In knowledge and branch in social science, I shall draw from some of my past experiences in the university and in the think tank. Today, many people seem to show a rather special interest in the current issue in economics, particularly among policymakers in the public sectors and the political leaders at various stages in their society, as well as members of the household. Today, current issues in economics seem to exert greater impact on our daily life. Current issues in economics unavoidably affect our daily life, more so today than before. This is a result of continuous intrusion of digital technology and internet communication, as well as the advance of globalization in trade among countries. To be competitive globally, each country plans for her own economic growth and development by preparing economic plan documents. Undeniably, COVID-19 pandemic causes mass unemployment and widespread poverty, as well as famine around the world. The phenomenon is usually referred to as global recession, or if the situation becomes more severe, it can lead to depression. None of the countries in the world are spared, at least in economic sense, from the pandemic. At the end of the day, only the resilience can successfully. Business establishment certainly would understand better the current gloomy economic condition that surrounded it, and is aware that it is now affecting its performance adversely in terms of lower profit, or if the situation worsened, it could ended up with making losses. In an encouraging situation, it will enjoy large profits. At present, the onslaught of coronavirus and its variants is forcing us to undertake controls on human movements in the form of lockdown, resulting in cessation of operation among many business establishments. The most affected business are those involved in hotel and accommodation, traveling, and airline activities. Nevertheless, there are those that flourish, especially firms that engage in serving the health sector and also that intensively rely on the use of digital technology. Similarly, household income, its main sources would normally come from salaries and wages or profit of a business venture, while also subjected to whims and fancies of economic fluctuation. Household income will increase if the businesses are on the upswings, and conversely decrease if the business are on the downswing. The pandemic causes household income to dive down significantly, leaving the expectation that many households will turn into poverty. In summary, our economy will certainly be subjected to booms and burst cycles, which in actual fact is a natural phenomenon and will last for an extended period of time. It is usually referred to as business cycle. Therefore, if business cycle is a natural phenomenon, so be it. It will be better for an economic agent more effectively. Truly, the resilience will survive. During the pandemic, developed countries having large amount of reserve would be in a better position to mitigate the economic adversity than the less developed countries with little amount of reserve. Now, as a person of knowledge, including an economist, sincerity to knowledge during any lecture or presentation, as in the present webinar, is highly required. Knowledge that we have is not supposed to be treated as a display piece, but rather as a tool that generates continuous benefit to others. Adopting such approach will deem to be people-centered. Moreover, it will make the presentation to be objective and capable of avoiding any hesitation that may be accounted as a result of some disapprovals. To be more effective, you have to begin with, technically sound in the subject matters we are about to deliver in terms of competence in the necessary quantitative tools and analysis. Presenting ideas resulted to current issues in economics proved to be particularly challenging. Few people regard economics as a discipline of dismal science. Economics as a field of knowledge is normally classified in the field of social science. However, it is frequently misinterpreted as a body of knowledge that focuses only on wealth to such an extent its analysis will usually relate to nothing except money matters. In actual fact, economics cover much wider areas such as trade, poverty, income distribution, environment, and education, to mention but a few. Although an economist is urged, besides to be fair in his analysis, also to indulge in rigorous quantitative technique in his analysis in order to ensure objectivity. Since it belongs to a body of social science discipline, subjectivity still remains to be quite dominant. In essence, what is normally considered straight is still arguable, depending on the perspective we are in when making the observation. Nevertheless, we must try our best to avoid such subjectivity by relying on rigorous quantitative and technical as well as empirical analysis. That we have done in our technical analysis for the minimum wage. Among the most common known diversity in economics, I would like to confine to the methodological issues, the partial equilibrium versus the general equilibrium analysis. While the partial approach looks at an issue at hand by confining on immediate and direct factors only, the general approach considers similar factors as the former, but also add on other distant but indirect factors. The general equilibrium approach sees the issues at hand by employing a framework of complete system. For example, changes in crude oil price will, in the partial approach, apart from affecting export revenue only, it also in general approach affecting general prices and household income. Differences in the inferences will certainly lead to different policy prescription. Based on empirical works. If possible, try to devoid of any deductive reasoning. Many old economics theories seem to conflict among themselves. If a theory can be nullified on the basis of new empirical finding, what more can we expect from those that are in actually remain as hypotheses? In summary, today economic observation and comment should be based on empirical findings that rely heavily on inductive reasoning. Nevertheless, it is important to note that while inductive and quantitative approaches have been adhered to, we are still unable to devoid completely of the problem of subjectivity. Still, there could be misspecification error in choosing some variables or in measuring some data set. For example, we may take inflow of foreign direct investment or FDI instead of capital stock as a determinant of economic growth. Similarly, many researchers may not aware that they have used nominal instead of real data in their analysis. Still another example. Due to utter ignorance, some writers take the rate of change in value added per worker instead of its level as a measurement of labor productivity. We have encountered this problem many times during our workshop in minimum wage. A policy statement coming from an eminent person who has insufficient training in economics give us yet another serious problem, as its impact will be considerable. Many professionals such as accountants, engineers, bankers, lawyers, and others are inadequately trained in economics, hold important position in a society. Since economics does not belong to any accredited professional body, anyone can become an economist. Ironically, a trained economist would normally shy away from making public statement unless it is adequately backed by rigorous empirical findings. So with that, I end up my keynote presentation. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Hello.
Thank you very much, sir. Does anyone have any queries?
Dato, Prof. I have a question to Prof.
Bala,
Zakaria. Yeah, fair, Bola. So,
Yes.
Prof, have experience. I know you are the well-known economist, not only Malaysia but all over the world. What is your advice currently in the pandemic? How these ASEAN countries, especially ASEAN, like India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and in fact, because we are still struggling with the COVID-19, there's no way. I asked some expert, medical expert, and so on. They told me that you will remain another 2 years to fully recover, all depending on the situation. So, but at the same time, Prof, economy must move on, and then now many countries lock down, and I think the severe industry actually what you call struggling now is micro, and you can see that even in our own country, and then everybody's suffering now. So what you looking for the future outcome? How this economic policy, that policymakers, you want to advise them, not only Malaysia but all of the countries, especially ASEAN, to combat this issue, and what is the standpoint on this, Prof?
Thank you very much, Prola. This pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, is a global phenomenon. It affects all countries in the world. So if I in my deliberation just now, if we can say that what we are experiencing now is a global recession, but if you are unlucky, perhaps we'll be facing depression. The difference between depression and recession, depression is actually what we have experienced in the 1930s. It's very deep recession. Hopefully, we will not be experiencing that kind of thing. So when deep recession or depression occurs in the world, then that means, as I said just now, no country will be spared. It will, of course, it will affect all countries in the world adversely. So those countries which have a fundamentally strong, they will be able to overcome the problem later on. But what I fear now is those countries which are quite weak, especially the developing That's why many of the developed countries, they now, when you look at the WHO or IMF reports, they can rebound quite effectively. But the developing countries will not be able to do that. It will take some time, and so the reserve, the amount of reserve they have is very important. And secondly, the strength of the economy depending on what we said just now, the technology. If you refer to the labor market, we will say that it depends on the household income, on the workers' salaries, on the level of skilled workers they have, the technology they use, you know. So because at the end of the day, each country will have to deliver high value added. So those countries which are highly productive countries, they can deliver higher value added, they can deliver growth after the pandemic. So, but those countries which are not so strong, especially with the low reserve, low skilled workers, low salary and wages, that means they will have a low level of household income. Then they will be facing a lot of socio-economic problems, and the government of the countries, all the countries affected, will have to use the limited reserve to solve the problem of the peoples. So I think this is but can do develop the resiliency of the economy. Yes, Dr. Bala. Probala.
Yeah, thank you, Datuk.